first of all, I'm Susan Latham, and I'm a resident of Santa Fe, and I'm a member of the art science community here in our beloved city. So we are, Santa Fe has been designated an affiliate city for Leonardo International Society of Art, Science, and Technology. How many of you have heard of that? Good. Well, just for those who do not know, Leonardo is international. There are over 20 cities that are affiliate cities like we are. And we usually try to live stream the evening's talk so that it can be heard all the way across our planet. I think that's pretty fabulous, don't you? So I just wanted to say that I am a co-coordinator of the Leonardo Laser. LASER stands for Leonardo Art Science Event Rendezvous. Pardon?
Evening rendezvous.
Evening rendezvous. Yes, evening. I don't know, is it event or evening? One or the other works well. So it is misleading, as we all know, the word laser, but we work with that. So I'm co-coordinator with Andrea Poli. She is a professor of art and ecology at the University of Mexico. She could not be here at the beginning. We hope that we'll see her later. So tonight, I would just say that we are honored to be associated with Paseo Taos, which is coming up next weekend. We are, the reason we have our auspicious speakers tonight is because they're here also for the Paseo. So we're thrilled and honored to have them. Now, Matthew Thomas is coordinator of the Paseo, right? Yeah. So fortunately, he's going to explain it to you. You can all put that on your calendar, and he is also going to be introducing our speakers. So I think that's it. We'll be having a Q&A afterward too. So if you have questions that I left out, I'll give you an opportunity to do that later.
Thank you. Would you guys prefer to use the microphone? Yep. Is this?
Hello? There we go. Okay. Thank you so much. Hi everyone, my name is Matt Thomas. I'm the founder and director of Paseo Project based in Taos, New Mexico. We are a 501c3 nonprofit arts organization, and we transform the community with art and art with community. We started in 2014 with the Taos Fall Arts Festival, and we brought installation, projection, and performance art to the streets of Taos. And so this is our 5th year with the Paseo Project, or with the Paseo, and our 1st year as Paseo Project as an official nonprofit with our board, so we feel like we're growing up pretty fast. Tonight we're really excited to be here to share with you a little bit of what the Paseo is about. We don't consider ourselves a new media festival. We consider ourselves sort of participatory, immersive, interactive art festival. We, over the years, have realized what it was that works for Taos as a small rural community, what works within our space that we live, the climate, and we're really excited to bring the 5th year. But I want to bring up a really important component, especially for tonight's discussion. Agnes Chavez, who co-founded with me and also is the director and curator for this event this weekend, coming weekend, but she's also the director of our STEM Arts Lab at the Paseo. And very early on, we realized, Agnes brought this concept into the festival. STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math, and then she brings in the aspect of arts to STEAM. So we call it the STEM Arts Lab at the Paseo. Really, I feel like it's because of this program, this educational program, it's really been able to ingrain into our community the strength of what the festival can be. So we have artists coming in from all over the world, some of which you're going to meet here shortly. And we actually bring them into the classroom. So they come a little bit early, they come like a week and a half early, and they actually go into the classroom working with science, math teachers, art teachers, and the artists have a project they work with the students, and using art as sort of the way of engagement, but introducing also aspects of science, technology, engineering, and math. So you'll probably hear a little bit about that tonight. What works really well for a rural community, it's a free community festival, but what works really well is that we're able to go into the classroom and we really bring out the whole community to the festival. And so it's a really fun experience. A lot of people love all the installations and the artwork, but honestly, just the feel of just being out there with the whole community is just a really special thing. So, and you're going to get a taste of what's going on. I'm going to do my introduction. So I thought what we would do is I'll introduce Espacio La Nube. They'll speak, and then we'll introduce Cristopher, and then we'll do a Q&A at the end, if that sounds good to everyone. So, Espacio La Nube is a design and architectural team, including Hugo Sefre, who could not make it this evening, so we're hoping he will be with us sooner than later. Alvaro Gomez and Miguel, they're based in Madrid, Spain. These guys arrived like 48 hours ago. They just got here. So, this award-winning design team creates inflatable architecture. In their first appearance here in the US, they are bringing the Space Cloud. They came over on a boat, and it's been shipped up, and it's now in Taos, and it'll be installed starting on Monday. It's an innovative 8,000 square foot pavilion with an integrated LED lighting system, and it'll be pretty much the nexus of the festival up in Taos. It'll be the site of multiple art installations and performances, and a pre-festival STEAM day, like I was mentioning, where we're bringing over 300 students from the entire county out to experience the pavilion before the festival. That's going to happen on Thursday. The designers will improvise custom lighting effects throughout the festival to respond to the changing events and installation. Really excited to have these guys here and to see their piece next week, and also to hear from them. So without further ado.
Thank you to invite us here. We just arrived like 40 hours ago and we are like really excited to be in New Mexico the first time. Espacio La Nube means space and cloud. And basically we try to build clouds. Not as beautiful as New Mexico clouds, but we are trying to. So we're going to start with a short video. So we're going to start explaining how did we arrive to this first cloud you have seen. Alvaro?
I would like to start telling that Espacio La Nube is a story about researching and solving problems, transforming them into challenges. The first challenge was to host in this first event 200 students of architecture in an event with lecture, but we were needing one thing, the accommodation. And we had only this parking lot, this empty area. We didn't know how to continue until one moment that we decided to start researching in the public bibliotheques of the campus. And we found this This is the architecture from the 70s. It's a pneumatic inflatable architecture that they were using at that time in kind of a naive way. And we thought that nowadays it was going nice to focus into the geometry and to the technology. So this is where we started, the story begins.
Then we had to think how to convert this idea into something like physical, where we can host 200 people, and at the same time create like big meetings, big lectures inside the space. So we were doing these plans, these many ideas at the beginning, like trying to fix all the beds around a space, empty space, and then we arrived until the last one, the circular one, that was the first pavilion we built.
In that project, we were facing both the geometry of the scales about the dormitory area and the assembly area. It's about function and form architecture. And the other, it was the concept. In this concept, we wanted to show a sensitive, philosophical architecture. So with the duality in between this dead ring, in this dead area, we use salt, and inside the oasis. So this duality was making a breaking point of view for the host. Well, we didn't know how to start, so we rent this sewing machine that we didn't know how to use, of course. With this sewing machine and the support of the university, we went to the basement and we were sewing for 40 days. Okay, wow. So we sew 5 kilometers, 72 pieces of fabric, we found the support of all of our friends, so we were there, long summer, without any expectation. We didn't know what was going to happen after. As you see here, it's like it was a massive work to do with these long distance pieces of fabric. And this is one of the most important parts, that we have been mixing the analogic and the technology. All of these sketches that you see there, they have been done hand drawing, and directly they were passing through the sewing machine. And this is the result. We didn't expect so beautiful a space. It's very photogenic. It's an infinite space that you can transform it in. It's so versatile that we have been doing after that. The first one was an accommodation, but it has been gallery. There have been parties.
One of the main differences between this space and any other space you've ever been, I think, is that the light is coming from everywhere. As you can see, there is like no position of the sun. It's like a skylight. There is no roof, there is no walls, everything is the same. And at the same time, as we explained before, the flooring is salt. It's 14 tones of salt.
Wow. Salt?
This salt, like.
Wow.
Yeah, salt.
Salt. How did we get this amount of salt? We asked the community of Madrid that this was in summer to let us the salt for the winter roads, that we will use it to sleep with the salt. They didn't understand, but they let us the salt, and then after the event we give them back the salt. So it's a mix between the skylight that is coming from everywhere plus the light that is also reflecting the salt as if it was the snow. And this is the garden inside this oasis that is completely the different atmosphere. Like you have the direct sun, you have vegetables, you can enjoy other activities.
And also, of course, we decided to develop the idea of the lighting. Half of the project is about lighting. At night, as you see, it's a huge lamp, and we can play with our LED program RHB system. And we do fantastic effects. The people were really developing that. And this is how we were passing during 15 days, the nights. As you see, this is the dormitory area. One of the ways that why we did it wrong in the circle is because you can have some privacy. You don't have a space that you discover at once, so you can have some privacy. There were 200 people, but when you were waking up, you saw only 20. And this is our pavilion. That's it. 1,000 square meters in 3 cubic meters. That's all. There is no text structure, there is no nothing.
And that's why when we finish with this and we put it in actually in my house, suddenly other people wanted this same kind of clouds for themselves, for, I don't know, for events, for parties. And we have a client from Denmark that was asking us a space, a smaller space, but with the same property, the same dualities. They were in love with the first one, so they want something similar, and we did that one.
In that case, as we control the process from the analogic part that we through, and then we can design with the 3D software, we wanted to go a step ahead. And we wanted to play with the geometry and the structure. In that case, the structure is an immersed structure. We are playing with tensors, so with these tensors, we can play with the shape. In that case, this dome that they wanted, it was so small, I mean not so small, it was 400 square meters, but we didn't want them to discover it once. So what we did is to play the same game, to play the duality, the salty desert, and also an inner garden inside this beautiful torus. This is the result.
Inside, we were doing dinners, we were doing, and this is the ropes, and the oculus, because it was like a transparent fabric in the oculus, so the sun can go inside as if it was in Rome. And this is the shape. Something we didn't explain, and I think it's important about geometry and about physics, is that you may think, what's going to happen if it rains? If it rains, we can change the length of the ropes. So suddenly, this shape change, and the oculus is going outside. So the rain is not stacking in the middle, and it goes out. So it was an inflatable, a space that changed. It was part of the game. It was alive, as the weather in Denmark.
You may see these things. Can you go one before?
Before?
Yeah. That things. That are the gates. They are in a special design that we have developed because this building are working only with air. The inner pressure that is making it that to have this structure type. With this kind of doors, they are closing by themselves, so they are also inflated, but you cross inside and they are closing back to you. This is important because later we are going to show another kind of prototypes, and we will lose this kind of doors because we were worried about that and we will continue exploring.
And yeah, this was mainly the activities we did, like everything. They did yoga and presentation, parties at night. And here we see the video that we... Okay, now this is another pavilion we built with our hands in Denmark as well. it was a completely different game. We tried to play also with the air. Basically, everything here was air and fabric. The last one has already the ropes, tensors, and now we were playing with many tensors. Usually the pressure, that is the main system of structure, inflate as a circular thing, like a balloon. And what happens if you put many tensors? Suddenly you can change the shape and do something like you're gonna see now.
Well, we wanted a square. You know, I know it was a challenge, and also we were bored about this kind of door that they were keeping the pressure inside. We wanted to be as transparent as possible. You know, it's like it was only a thin layer separating the public than the private. So why not to do a place with 20 doors? You know? And then we were thinking this idea without knowing if we were going to work or not. I think we did a great job here.
Again, 1 month with our sewing machine, and this was the result. $20 and many rooms. I don't know, 44 I think. And also we always use our LED system as part of us, and we try to do everything we can inside. Here we're gonna see the short video.
Following with the idea of the orthogonality and this kind of shapes, we wanted to try more things with this fabric. And we discovered that this fabric is very nice to print it. Also, this has its lighting properties. As you see, they asked us to do a gallery. This is an inner gallery. It's a gallery inside the gallery. It was a inflatable gallery of inflatable projects. So this is a resume of all the inflatable thing that they had been in Spain for the 70s. Okay? So it was a very round concept.
And then we go to the project that we're gonna see here in Paseo, that we try to take the best things we learned during the last projects and build something with professional quality in our factory, not only with our hands, and using the same shape of the beginning, more using this garden inside, because basically when you see something like this, you never expect that inside you will have a garden. It's something that like you go inside a space and there is another space afterwards no one expects. This is a bit the result.
Why we wanted to continue with our research, and at that moment it was about lighting and projecting. There's a technique, it's called the full dome projections, and we wanted to try this thing. So it was a team projecting in full dome, 360 grades, and this is the result. It was a beautiful sky inside. And as you see the result, it has beautiful properties because the the crystal, the glass of the salt is reflecting perfectly, so you can do a continuous space in the ground and also in the cover. And it was a party for the TV channel and also for the brand Jeep cars.
And what we see here that is important, that is the fabric. If you project something from inside, you will see it also outside. And this was really important for the artist and for the main party channel, because they want to show something private inside, but everyone outside is, oh, what's happening? We see something moving. So here's gonna be our last video. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm excited to present Cristopher Cichocki. He's from the Coachella Valley in California, and he will be bringing circular dimensions to the Paseo. Cristopher lives and works in the desert of Southern California. He focuses on the symbiotic relationship between humankind, nature, and industry, and the cycle of decay and renewal. He has immersed himself in the desert landscape, creating interconnected works of sculpture, painting, photography, video, performance, installation, sound, and architectural intervention. Cristopher is the founder and curator of Epicenter Projects, a site-specific, time-based artist residency established in 2014 along the San Andreas Fault Line. Cristopher received his Bachelor of Fine Arts degree from the School of Art, CalArts, California. His work has been featured in numerous exhibitions around the world in such institutions as the Museum of Image and Sound in Sao Paulo, the Bienal Urbana in Venice, the Casa Franca Brazil in Rio de Janeiro, Museum of Moving Image in New York, Portland Museum of Contemporary Art, Portland, Oregon, Palm Springs Art Museum in Palm Springs, and Arte A in Guadalajara. So, Cristopher.
Be here in the lovely city of Santa Fe. It's my actually first time being here. And as Matt had mentioned, I'm from the Coachella Valley, and more specifically Indio, which is, if you know Palm Springs and that kind of area, Sonoran Desert, and then you go a little bit above into Joshua Tree, it's the Mojave. And so a lot of my art responds to the desert, and a lot of my art is really an extension of the Western history of land art. Artists like Robert Smithson, Michael Heitzer, Nancy Holt, all of these pioneers of the 1960s into the 70s are highly, highly inspirational, and I'm continually thinking about that work when I'm out in this vast desert landscape. And so I'm also a very multifaceted artist, so the idea of my land art transcends into technological areas. It goes into video art, it goes into photography, performance. My performance, Circular Dimensions, is a multi-sensory installation and environment, and it's one facet of my practice that will be featured at Paseo next weekend. And what I've done, because I'm going to assume for the most part this is an introduction of my work to the majority of you, if not all of you, I've compiled more of a video in relationship to my work that is exactly 20 minutes, because typically my artist presentations are about an hour long. And so I wanted to cover all the bases as efficiently as possible. And I'm going to interject a little bit as we go on here. And let's play.
My name is Cristopher. I'm an artist living and working in the desert of Southern California with Delta. Observing the topography of the desert, I begin to see the direct relationship to life forms within the ocean. The structure of an aloe vera plant directly relates to the starfish. Sea coral becomes reminiscent of tumbleweeds, cockatiels, and sagebrush. These indigenous desert plants are essentially the surviving seeds left from an ancient ocean that existed thousands of years ago. I create my work within the extremities of this desert abyss. Black light is technically defined as ultraviolet radiation amplifies the neon acidic colors in my palette, illuminating a visceral sense of hazard and awareness. Simultaneously, these vibrant colors introduce a glowing sensation that echo bioluminescent life forms evolving within deep oceanic environments. Less than 5% of the ocean is yet to be explored, and over 70% of the Earth is covered in water. However, regardless of the massive amounts of water flowing within our oceans, there are many regions worldwide that face critical limitations to water. Here in California, we are currently facing one of the most severe droughts on record. In the midst of this ecological crisis, Southern California is additionally confronted with a ticking time bomb, the Salton Sea. Located 40 miles east of Palm Springs, scientists have given a clear warning that if nothing is done to preserve the receding water level of the Salton Sea, an airborne catastrophe of toxic, cancerous dust will be exposed from the seabed, resulting in air quality so poor that the majority of Southern California will be left uninhabitable. I've been documenting the decline of the Salton Sea for over a decade. In 2005, I began a hybrid series of work where I painted and removed the dead fish that lined the shores of the Salton Sea. As years passed and the work progressed, a cycle of mutation became evident, and the number of fish I include within my multi-sensory installations began to multiply. At the start of 2015, I began Epicenter projects. As chief curator of Epicenter projects, I invite artists to create site-specific, time-based works alongside the San Andreas Fault. Throughout 2015 and 16, an international lineup of 12 artists will have completed their Epicenter projects residencies and published online exhibitions. With Epicenter projects, the San Andreas serves as a conceptual temple, an external studio that contemplates the ephemeral, shifting nature of the region. The possibilities are endless, with so many unique sites throughout Southern California's diverse terrain. One of my favorite locations is the Mudbox, located on the outer edge of the Salton Sea, at the southernmost section of the San Andreas Fault. These mudboxes take the form of miniature volcanoes, or randomly staggered pools filled with bubbling geothermal mud, a little reminder that the Earth's inner core is approximately the same temperature as the surface of the sun. I've produced my art in regions all over the world, and with each new location, I engage with the environment in totally different ways. To me, there are no boundaries in my practice. I find it essential to explore on a global level and connect to the Earth's infinite natural resources. As a collective human race, we brought our planet to a crucial breaking point that I have both a deep concern and optimism for. In this intersection between nature, humankind, and industry, everything is shifted, everything is temporary.
Right, so the next video, you live that, thanks. The next video is a project that I created a little over a year ago in Italy, in Bassano del Grappa. And the project was a collaboration with Building Beyond Together, which is a curated series by the Italian company Geoplast.
Hi from the Welcome Memorial in New York. My name is Sergei Ivanovich Weiss. I'm an architect and I'm an author. I'm interested in the relationship between architecture, art, and society. My experience includes heavy research from Herzog and Demeron and collaborating with Ai Weiwei in China. I also teach at Harvard, Cornell, and CUNY. Gilles and Cristopher asked me to introduce their project, Building Beyond Together. Cycle. They made an art installation in a Palladium Villa in Verona. They explored the relationship between nature and building. So our hopes are that we can actually have a discussion with architects with this project. The first thing and the most important thing to discuss is what makes architecture beautiful. Many believe that beauty is only visual. For example, I'm struck by the beauty of buildings like El Philharmonie, by the Quartz Critical. Beauty is not just visual. I propose 3 new ways how to look at the beauty of architecture. 1, how it is built. 2, how people live in it. And 3, how it preserves the environment. These 3 seem familiar. However, they are quite complex. Our hope is that this project will make architects adapt new standards for the beauty of architecture.
Sono Mirko Pegoraro, CEO di Geoplast. La mia famiglia ha fondato l'azienda nel 1974. La nostra visione è quella di cercare di cambiare il modo di costruire e renderlo sempre più sostenibile verso l'ambiente. Usiamo la plastica, molto spesso la plastica viene recepita in maniera negativa, ma noi cerchiamo sempre di utilizzarla a protezione dell'ambiente. È importante per noi migliorare il rapporto tra architettura e ambiente. Per questo abbiamo deciso di produrre Building Beyond Together insieme a Cristopher qui a Vinacarta. Città perfetta è una città che sa sfruttare la tecnologia audio a disposizione per riuscire a integrare sempre di più quello che è l'ambiente all'interno del contesto urbano. Una città dove la natura entra a contatto con l'uomo e l'uomo vive la natura in mezzo alla città. Ci sono varie manifestazioni nell'ambiente, ci sono terremoti, ci sono alluvioni, c'è inquinamento e gli architetti oggi devono imparare a convivere con questi eventi e imparare a risolverli. L'ambiente oggi è sempre più importante e sempre più presente nella nostra vita quotidiana. Gli architetti oggi devono conoscere le tecnologie per poter plasmare le proprie città in funzione anche nell'ambiente.
My name is Christopher. I'm an American artist from the desert of Southern California. My work focuses on the relationship between environment and industry. This is my artwork titled Root Cycle, which is part of Building Beyond Together. The project consists of 3 elements. A geoplast product used as raw material, the construction, which embodies an architectural structure, along with organic materials, such as aloe vera, branches, soil, all of which are part of the natural ecosystem.
When Geoplast proposed the idea for me to create an artwork involving one of their products, I immediately gravitated towards the new elevator tank because of its architectural aesthetic. And when I discovered how this system stores water underground while preventing erosion and floods from heavy rainfalls, this combination of infrastructure and water preservation inspired me to use aloe vera. For years, I've included aloe vera in my art as a symbol of sustainability and resilience. Despite no water and the application of marking paint, the aloe vera always continues to grow from the planet back into the earth. This concept of resilience and sustainability within Recycle became fully realized in the context of Andrea Palladio's Villa Grana, an historic landmark that was integrated into a natural environment centuries ago and continues to flourish with its deep consideration of reverent design and preservation.
Alright, so circular dimensions is, as I mentioned, another facet of my work, which is what I'm presenting at Paseo next week. So circular dimensions is really me on the fringe of the musical world and the contemporary art world. And as you'll see within some of this footage, well, this next clip actually is inside of the Frank Lloyd Wright building. So I'm doing live microscopic video painting, along with pre-composed content, because I'm also an experimental composer. And this was a performance in the middle of a woods area in San Diego, California, at a independent art space called The Ship in the Woods. So I collaborated with some scientists here that are performing through the digital microscopes, and this is my pre-composed content as well that you're seeing. That's a little more literal. And by the way, this is in 3D, a certain type of 3D called chroma depth, which you wear the 3D glasses, and the sculptural elements start to kind of levitate. And there's just a whole other realm of perception once you activate it with the glasses. And this is me performing in front of a 20-foot LED wall.
Thank you, Christopher. Do you guys want to, should we pull our chairs up here or just do a Q&A? Paseo was really this opportunity of how art can transform. So to me, Paseo was a big experiment. It's really exciting to see these pieces becoming these interventions in our community, questioning, making people see where they live again fresh. I think art has an incredible way of doing that. So thank you guys for coming to Taos, and thank you for presenting. Any questions for these guys?
How much air pressure does it take to keep the building inflated?
How much what?
Air pressure.
We didn't explain anything about the industry.
Sorry, we didn't explain it. We can talk about pascals, or we can talk about columns of millimeters of water.
Either.
Okay. If we talk about Pascal, I think we are in millimeters is like we are working in between 14 and 26. And pascals, I think you have to multiply per more or less 10, so it's around from 140 until 260, something like that. Over the number 30 or 32, the sewing, they break.
Giving an answer more open for everyone that doesn't know anything about pascals, we have like the fans that are all the time putting air inside, and we have a system that detects the difference between inside and outside. So if you open the door, for example, a lot of air goes outside, and the system detects the pressure is going down, so it put more inside. That's it.
We have developed a software that they are using it in the buildings, normally in the emergency stairs, to keep the fire inside.
Yeah.
I mean, to keep the fire outside, of course. So when you open a door, it puts air inside, so the fire is not coming in. So we have modified this software and we have put it with a pressure stat. I don't know if this word is English or not. Pressure stat? Okay, so I mean, this software is having developed by us and it's working perfectly.
I wondered in relationship to inflatables, did you have trouble with wind loading? And did you have a feedback system of the hygrometers to balance that out? Did that ever become a problem with you?
Basically, when the wind, so in Europe is kilometers and here is, so I can't translate, but we check the weather and also we are always there. That's something you have to know. We are always with the pavilions. It's not something you can let and go sleep. We go sleep, but with the cell phone closed, and we put the pressure up when you know the wind is strong, and then you put it down. We know exactly more or less the limits.
I worked with a bunch of them, and that was one of our persistent problems. With the inability to balance the internal and external pressures.
Yeah, you have to make it aerodynamic. So if we put more pressure, it's going to be better for the wind, but it's going to be not so good for the sewings. But we are working under the European regulation, and we have an engineer who is making the project. The official project, because the project is our. And it says that over 75 kilometers per hour, you cannot blow it. And you recommend that if it's going to be over 55, it's better to put the people outside and to keep the control.
Any question?
2 questions. One, how do you control the temperature inside of it? And the other, how is it accessible to people who might have a wheelchair or difficulty entering?
The fabric that we use doesn't produce greenhouse effect. So the weather that is outside is the same weather that is inside. If it is sunny, it's like if you are under the sun, it's the same. For the wheelchair, we have an emergency door. That is a normal door that we use. It's in the back part, so you don't see it. So it works both for emergency door and also for the wheelchair. Yeah.
Did the salt act as a base on the
You need a microphone.
About the salt, I can explain because it was the thing.
Did you put it as a weight, or did the membranes hold it down?
Actually, yeah, we didn't explain anything. Sorry, it was a bit chaotic. The pressure tried to open the shape, no? So there is like 20 tons of sand in plastic bags in the perimeter that has the same weight than the pressure you put inside. The salt does nothing, it's just like a flooring. But we discovered that during the nights the salt takes the humidity of the air and the temperature goes down. So when we were sleeping, the 200 people we had to ask for golden blankets to emergency numbers or sleep with someone. It was.
as you have noticed when you go for camping, there is humidity inside the tent that drops. That thing, we don't have it because the salt is drying everything. Also, the good property of the salt is that it's very hygienic, so it doesn't grow any virus or anything there.
So they mentioned working with the I think Madrid or one of the other cities for sand. So we contacted the town of Taos, and sure enough, we're getting the delivery of salt that will be used throughout the whole winter for the roads in Taos. And so we'll be delivered first to the space cloud, and then it'll be used on the roads of Taos all winter long. So we lucked out on that one too. Any questions? Other questions?
A question for Christopher. What are if you can share, what are the materials you use for the microscope paintings? Is it oil-based, or how does it work?
I get that question a lot, actually.
So it looks like an old light show from the 70s.
Right. So it's really a combination of organic and synthetic materials, and that can kind of vary from performance to performance. But I always integrate specimens extracted from the outer-lying landscape. And so there's actually a workshop that I conducted with Taos Charter School, and we were using nanolight microscopes to magnify these objects from the Taos wetlands. And we're going to be integrating a lot of those organic objects. Of course, they're organic from the wetlands into the circular dimensions evenings in Taos, along with, once again, synthetic. And I'm really trying to look at circular dimensions though as once again a kind of microscopic video painting. My origin, like my ultimate origin as an artist, my earliest memory actually as a child is painting and drawing. So this visual kind of application that's kinetic into well, it's really video art, but it's live and it's unrepeatable, and it's right there in front of your face. And if it gets documented in the right way, it forever lives in a sense as a painting. And so I'm going on a tangent now, but yeah, to answer your question, it's a variety of things.
Chris, do you do anything similar like Goldworthy and leave something there to be withered away? Is there some intention in that? Or is it mostly just the moment of recording what you did?
Yeah, so in relationship to leaving things like Andy Goldsworthy, I sometimes do that. Often though, it's really about the culmination of these elements and then the documentation and this video, and it's just very ephemeral. And so, epicenter projects, my residency that I run, it's a time-based, site-responsive residency. And so people go, oh, that looks amazing. I want to go. I want to see that. I'm like, you can't go. I'm documenting it. I might have some other people document it, but it's completely ephemeral. It's completely this private thing. It's land art in a digital era, right? And so, but at the same time, of course, the Root Cycle project was open to the public in Italy, and there's every so often, yeah. And then there's works in museums that I do and so forth. But it's always very fragile, very very fragile. I'm interested in that kind of hyper ephemerality in a sense. Yeah.
Question back here.
You showed the salt sea drying out and cracking. The cracks are typically 120 degrees each, but the crust of the Earth breaks up in exactly the same way. That gives you a global connection. It's what geologists call a triple junction, and a good example of that would be the South Atlantic, the top of South America, that goes, and the Niger. They're at 120 degrees to each other. The South Atlantic has opened up. The top of South America has slid, and now the Niger is where the river is drained. So you're looking at exactly the same process globally, as you're seeing on a centimeter scale in the Salton Sea.
Right. And so, yeah, I look at the Salton Sea as really a metaphor and as a medium, and it's, people go, oh, you're the artist and your work's about the Salton Sea. It's like the Salton Sea is a site, and it's a petri dish in, relatively my backyard, so to say. I live about 45 minutes away, and it's this thing that's so out of sight, out of mind within the great majority of Southern California, but it truly is on its way to becoming the largest airborne catastrophe in the United States if nothing is done to mitigate this dust, because the dust is not just dust that's blowing around, say, in the parking lot over here. This, particulate matter, 0.2, 0.3 particulate matter, and this dust is going into one's bloodstream, and it's altering DNA. And the high school on the edge of the Salton Sea in the town of Mecca has the highest asthma rate in all of America. And so it's California's largest lake, and it starts to get less and less and less, and they just diverted the water from the Colorado River last year, actually, to San Diego, and now it's just evaporating at such rapid rate. So I'm going there. I'm not interested in really documenting my area in this exploration anymore. I've gone down all those dirt roads. Now it's becoming the same site again and again and again, and really kind of treating these sites as a scientific documentation and just understanding the entropy that's going on within these regions. But the Salton Sea I see parallels all the time, like you're saying, in relationship to the rest of the world. And I'm going to pick your brain on that specific fact after this, too, so I can have more fuel for the grist.
I was just going to tie two things together. Because years ago I was with a group called Ant Farm, and we made an inflatable building to go into a hot springs out in the desert. But it was too hostile even with the inflatable to live out there when the wind was blowing and everything that was going on. And the inflatable turned into a solar oven.
Yeah.
It's a little hard to deal with. And we did a few events in the Ciro's dry lake, because it was really great because you could crunch through the top surface and make patterns and things, like crop circles. It's really neat, but it's really hard to be out there.
Yes.
How do you take it?
Response, questions?
Just one last thing. Are you guys familiar with the Ant Farm's inflatable cookbook?
Okay.
Cookbook, inflatable cookbook.
No, it's the first time we listen to that.
Well, I got a treat for you.
Any other questions or any other comments from you guys? Well, thank you, and thank you, Laser, for having us here, coming down to Santa Fe. It's been great, and I hope you all come up to Taos. We brought our program and maps to navigate. There's over 18 installations, over 30 artists and collectives that will be in Taos for the weekend, Friday and Saturday night. And you'll get to see these guys in action. So thank you.